creating the background for your work. So once you're done, make sure you take your layers panel, click and pull it out. You can drop it down so you can see all of your layers. It's best to come see me before you start the background just to be sure that you are ready for it. And I can do a couple of little tips and tricks to kind of help you make sure you solidify your finished piece before you add this background. Now, we are going to do a background very similar to the work of Kehinde Wiley, right? So if you remember very quickly, the Kehinde Wiley work and the background of his work included all of these flower patterns. And when you looked closely at these flower patterns, they appeared in the background, but they also kind of came across and covered almost like foliage, you know, coming across and over the top of the person. So you can see it here kind of at the bottom crawling over. So we're going to do the same exact thing. In order to do that, the first step is to go to Chrome. You can go to Google or Yahoo, it doesn't matter, and you're going to type in the word flower pattern. Now once you go to flower pattern, you're then going to go to images. Once you go to images, depending on what website you use, I'm going to use Google, obviously. I'm using Google right now, okay? But once you go to flower pattern, you're going to want to go to tools. After you go to tools, you're going to get some options that come up. This is under images, by the way, right? You want size. You want the largest kind. We don't want to deal with anything that has low pixelage, right? Or pixels. So from here, you're going to select one of these patterns. Now, I would recommend that you don't pick one from the first 2 or 3 rows if you could avoid it, because listen, every student is doing the same project and you're going to want to pick something that's unique and different, right? And also I would recommend picking something that has a little bit of spacing in it. So I'll give you an example. Even though it is from the first couple of rows, this one right here has some nice spacing in between it. You see the white area in between? That would be a fine one to use. So I'm going to click it and say okay, and it's going to open up large on the right hand side of my screen. Now, once it loads itself, and you can tell it's loaded because it came up crisp. There is one issue that came up here, and you see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a little stamp that's on it. If it has a stamp on it, that's not going to work for you, so you got to find another one. So there's a little bit of searching that needs to be done in order to find the correct one. I'm going to use just this one, I guess, for now, because I know it doesn't have a stamp on it. So I click it, I let it load up on the right-hand side here. And once it loads up, hopefully it loads up for me. Come on, come on, load up, load up, load up. Sometimes you have to go to the website to get it. You know, you have to actually click or visit the website. This one's not working. Let's try this one. I'm looking for something to load up completely so it kind of gets crisp here before I pull it. This one's not working as well. Awesome. Let's try instead, just to make this a little easier for all of us, let's try yahoo.com, okay? We'll go to Yahoo. We'll type in the exact same thing up here. We'll type in flower pattern. I'm going to go to images. Now, in also, I guess, important here is that I'm in Yahoo now. If you go to more, no, filter, where do they have it? Yeah, filter. Size. Large or extra large is best for this project. You find the pattern that you'd like. So again, I'm just going to pick one. This kind of thing where they're overlapping each other, not a great idea. You want somewhere there's a little bit of spacing, like I said. So I'm going to try this one. See if it loads up for me. Seems like nothing is loading up, I guess, because I'm trying to make a video and my life would be easy if it loaded up. All right, so these ones that aren't fully loading, I don't know if you guys can tell, but they're not fully loading. They're staying all this like pixelized kind of look. You have to go to the website, so we'll try it that way. I'm going to say view image. See if it brings me directly to the website. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, so it's one of those days where nothing's going to work, so that's awesome. Let's try a different one and hope that it works. There we go. Okay, so this one actually loaded up for me. So what I'm going to do is I click it. You must click it first to open it up. So I went here. I found it. Where was it? This one here. I clicked on it. It opened it up large. And then what you're going to do is then take it, drag it, and drop it onto your page like this. Now, when I dragged it, you can see it came up here in my layers, right here where it says layer 2. I'm going to double click on it, and I'll call it flower pattern. so you know what it is. Make sure you know what it is. Label your layers just like you did already. And then I'm going to take that layer and move it to the bottom of the stack underneath this backup. If you don't have a backup layer, you didn't see me yet. You know, so like I said at the beginning, see me at the end of the project right before you start the background, and I'll do that with you. So put it at the bottom, not underneath the original pose, but just about there. And then as you look at it from far away, it might look something like this. Yours might be a little bigger or smaller, the flower pattern. You take this tool on the top left here, the move tool, and then you can reposition this by clicking and moving it around. Now yours might have come up real small, in which case you can see it's not quite big enough. You're going to go to Edit and Free Transform to resize it. And you'll see that box that gets put up around the corner like we did at the beginning of this project. You got to hold Shift and Option at the same time and pull from this corner to resize it. So I'm going to do it big enough so it fits the entire page. So it's going to look like right about there is good. The exact size of it is really up to you, as long as it's big enough to fit the screen, and you can move it around to get whatever flowers you want to kind of show up, kind of like that. Okay, so that looks good to start. I'm going to hit the checkbox up top to OK it. So that flower pattern is now sitting at the bottom of our layers panel, right? What we want to do is we want to have some of those flowers also on top of the person. Remember, like I showed you, some of his work has the flowers on top of the person. So before I do that, what I would really like to do is on this layer, I'm just going to take the magic wand tool that you had used already in the last project. Go to the magic wand tool, go over to your screen, click on that background color. Remember, you're on the flower pattern layer. You click on this color like this. You see that it selects all of that color. You can even right click and select similar. And if you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to click and grab all of the similar colors to the one you clicked on, which is in this case all of this kind of gray color in the background. And I'm going to hit delete. So you can see that this layer now just has the flowers on it, and we got rid of the gray that's around the flowers. See that? Okay, so down here at the bottom, we're going to hide the original pose. We do not need to see it anymore right now. Okay, so we're just going to hide it. So if you look from far, at this point, the background looks white. And the reason that it looks white is because this layer is still on. And you can see the white behind it. We're going to add color instead of that white in a little bit. All right, now, to get the flowers to go on top of him, what we're going to do is take the flower pattern layer, copy it by dragging it to the new layer button down here, by dropping it right on this new layer button. And now we have two. We have flower pattern and flower pattern copy. The flower pattern copy is the one that we're going to bring to the very top of the stack, so it should look like this. Click, drag, and drop it all the way to the top of the stack right here. So now the flowers look like they're on top. You see that? Flowers are on top of him. Now we don't want to keep all of those flowers because a lot of them are covering up important parts of his body or face, but we want to leave some of them. So if you look at it from afar, we want to get rid of like 90% of the flowers, but just leave a few. So you stay on the top layer, flower pattern copy. You take your eraser tool from the toolbar. You can change the size of the eraser to anything you want, big or small. Keep it at 100% hardness. And all you got to do is go over and start to delete some of them like this by erasing them. So for example here, I'm going to get rid of this pink flower that was covering his face because all that detail in the face you don't want to lose. Maybe I'll leave this little one over here and I'll leave this one at the top. And maybe, I like that shoulder. I'm going to keep the shoulder. So again, I'm just picking and choosing what I want to delete of those flowers using the eraser tool on that top layer. This big flower that's right in front of him, that's your choice. You can keep it or leave it. I think I'm going to get rid of it because I feel like that's kind of an important piece, that whole area with the zipper. That flower right there I could leave. Maybe I'll get rid of this. And maybe that's about it. But again, you can kind of pick and choose. So from afar now, it looks like this. A couple of flowers are on top. The rest are all behind. And the final step to the whole thing is right now the background is white. But there's probably 100 colors that would look better than white behind this. So what you do is you go to the bottom of the stack. You click on the original pose layer, and right here you will see an icon, looks like a black and white cookie. If you click it, there's a whole bunch of options here that come up, and you want the one that says, you have two choices. You have solid color or gradient color. If I pick solid color, you're going to see a box pops up asking you what color you would like to put there. And you see automatically it put black, but you can change that color. You see as I'm clicking it, the color in the background keeps changing. So you find one that you think is going to work. I mean, maybe it's red, maybe it's pink, maybe it's purple. I don't know. You got to kind of go through and find. This is you being an artist and taking a look and finding what works best. And then once you find it, you click OK, and that's going to rest at the very bottom of the stack. You see it right here. It sits at the bottom, underneath everything else. The only other option you have, I'm going to get rid of that for 1 second. Last and final option is this. If you go to that cookie again at the bottom and you go up, this time you can choose gradient instead, gradient. And if you choose gradient, you get this box that pops up. Now, if you hit the little arrow here, there's a bunch of preset gradients for you, but you're not stuck with these. Even if I pick this one, for example, and you can see what it looks like in the background. It goes from like a dark green to almost a yellow. See in the background it starts light and it goes to dark. But here you can control it. So if you actually click right here, it opens up this little slider. And on this slider now, you can move these individual colors back and forth to get more or less. You can pull them down and it deletes the color. If you click on the line, you can add as many colors as you want. And then if you double click them, you can change the colors to different colors. So if you wanted this to be blue in the middle, then you wanted to get rid of this and this and this and this and this. Now it goes from dark green to blue, purplish to yellow almost, and then you hit OK. All of the rest of these options just allow you to control the gradient. So you can do it. There's different styles of the gradient, there's different angles, and there's scale. So as you mess with the scale, and you can turn it, you can change it from radial to angled to reflective, diamond. There's all kinds of options. All right, and you can change the size, how much or how little of the gradient gets shown. So you have a lot of control over it, okay? So a lot of times with that gradient, it will look real nice. You can see what's going on here. And it has a real nice look to it, all right? And that's the basic steps for the background. I know it's a bunch of little steps, but the video will be there for you. I'm going to post it to Project 1 now.